Hi, I'm Francisco Chinela, and you're watching 110 Football.
You know, it feels like we were just together for the instant reaction postgame, Vince.
It's because we were. But it's Monday, so that means we're doing a deeper dive into LAFC's 1-1 draw with Portland.
The tone would be very different today if it weren't for some stoppage time heroics. I credit Owen Wilson being there.
Maybe some credit for B-Rod or Mamadou?
Yeah, but Owen Wilson, Vince. Come on, Jedediah from the museum? Come on.
LAFC 360 starts right now.
Welcome, everybody, into a new episode of LAFC 360, a quick turnaround from last night's game, and especially for those of you who are still, you know, rocking at the sunset deck.
Like now.
It gets a little rowdy. But it's all good. We are here, and here is the group joining us for another episode. Max Bretos, welcome.
Thank you. So when you think of Owen Wilson, you think of Night at the Museum.
That's the only thing I've ever seen him in.
Oh, wow. Check out Bottle Rocket. You'll like it.
Bottle what now?
Bottle Rocket. No?
J.R., welcome for your first episode of LAFC 360.
Thank you, my man. Thank you guys for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, out at 8 a.m. at the Fan Fest, setting things up.
I'll say this, that's what you think. You're in for a lot of trouble.
And, of course, the lovely Vince LaRosa.
It's awesome to be here. I'm stoked we're seeing a lot of familiar faces in the chat. But I would say this, please tell a friend. Let's get more people. Let's get more people in the chat. I love all you guys, but more people in the chat makes us better.
So before we get into it, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, like the video, and click that little bell, right? You know we're here every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific, but just in case, to get reminded. So, Vince, what is up first today?
Well, like we do every week, it's time to check out the big storylines that are floating around social media, revolving around the black and gold. Let's talk about what's trending, boys.
Hashtag. What's hashtag trending?
What's hashtag trending? Do I have to say the hashtag?
You always had to.
Is it implied?
I think you do. I think you have to say it.
Okay, I'm learning here, guys. I just learned what a hashtag was like last week.
Not true.
As you know, Mamadou scored in the 3rd minute of stoppage time to rescue a point for LAFC. After the match, he had some interesting words to describe that moment. Let's check it out.
I've been improving a lot, trying to help my team the way they helped me. And it was always great to score, but it was like the work of the team. Everybody got involved. It was just like they were just cooking and serving me a plate and say, you gotta eat my dinner.
I gotta eat my dinner. Where does that rank on like all-time LAFC quotes? That's pretty.
It's high up there.
Love it.
It's a good one.
You guys are gonna hate this, but I feel like it's like somewhat Zlatan-esque to say something like that. I don't know, like a Gen Z Zlatan. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened.
Gen Z Zlatan. That's a good target.
If Mamadou is our Zlatan, that's phenomenal. Yes.
I mean, sure. He's given us a lot of great moments in just the limited time that he's had here. The sombrero goal, this huge goal. I mean, he does something a little bit different. He brings the energy, kind of like a Zlatan did, but not in the villain way that Zlatan did.
I would like him to be a villain to the opposing team.
He's gotten under the skin of a couple teams, and someone here
That's
on the
Diego
comments
Rubio.
here who said, "Who's he yelling at the end of the game?" I can't tell you that, Dark Framez, but he's engaging it. That's good. That's bad, but I don't mind seeing that fire. There was I think Sebastian Biega came on there, and I think he's controlling him a bit, but you want to see those emotions to a degree, but he's certainly got that.
Yeah.
He's an uncompromising individual, which is good.
Well, if we're going to talk about hashtag what's
only 19.
trending.
He's only 19.
Yeah, he's only 18.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about hashtag what's trending and what's going around the internet, some people shooting up, even LAFC fans saying, don't celebrate a 93rd minute goal with 10.
Oh, was that really said?
Yeah, what
That was
what do
really
you guys
said by
think in the
multiple
chat?
people.
Come
So
on.
what do you guys think? Do you celebrate that goal? What?
19 years old, scoring a goal in stoppage time to equalize against a team that had been pushing
Bless
you
you.
around for most of the
That's
match.
how you know it's live.
Bless
Connor
you.
actually sneezed.
I was sneezing earlier. Now he's sneezing, so we might have something. We are all good. You know, it's all good and clear.
Adorable sneeze.
No, but you.
It wasn't adorable.
You always celebrate that.
Sure.
That needs to be the consensus.
That could end up being one of the more important goals for LAFC, because I think in 2021, and I tweeted this last night, this was the kind of game where LAFC don't pull level late, or they pull level and allow a game winner, Maxime Crépon, made a really crafty little save later on in stoppage time to preserve the point. That's a really important result here. Keeps you unbeaten, keep some momentum, because of that, without that goal, we're having a much different conversation here, right? So that is worthy of celebrating. Plus, you're in the North End. You gotta soak it all in. How many times you have that opportunity? Hopefully, a few more for Mamadou.
A tie that feels a little bit like a win, or did I go too far?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Close.
With all the physicality, all the lead up to it, and all the frustration, we're going to talk about this in a minute, chance after chance, and not being able to put those away, there was a lot of emotionality in that goal. Absolutely.
All right, but first let's talk about physicality.
Some of the fans are agreeing, by the way. Look, Carlos saying getting the draw was hard work.
And these points do matter at the end of the season. If we're able to convert what seems to have been a loss to a 1 point, that makes all the difference. It would have made the difference last year.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we're not in that fight for that final spot.
But every point matters.
Okay, well, let's talk about something not so fun. Carlos Vela subbed out at halftime. We wondered, was it tactical? We've now found out it's a little bit of an injury. Franco Escobar actually came into the match trying to push through it, trying to start, couldn't quite make it. He had to come out. So are we concerned about these early injury woes? Once again, 2021 is back.
You hit the nail square on the head. I had flashbacks of 2021. Remember how injuries derailed our season last year. We were never really able to get back on track, whether it was Eddie Segura, Carlos Vela, a lot of these smaller injuries that our team had to overcome throughout the entire season last year. And here we are, 2 games in. I think Franco Escobar, Carlos Vela, 2 of our most important players on the pitch, already seeing injuries. It's concerning, but we still have plenty of time to go.
And Steve Cherundolo asked it, and it certainly downplayed it, precautionary in the case of Carlos Vela, and for that matter, Franco Escobar. But to your point, whether they're big or small, you hope that they don't happen at all, but certainly at the beginning of the season, you want to get discouraged as well. So we'll find out. We'll get some more information here. And because of the track history of Carlos Vela in the last 2 years, that's what heightens this situation here. But hopefully for some good news.
But it is soccer, though. Stuff happens. Football, mate. It happens. It happens. Injuries happen. Franco, his calf, maybe he's out for a couple games. And let's say these 2 injuries happen to be long-term and out for the season. And then we talk about does Carlos Vela get re-signed, that whole thing. But to be a fan of this sport, you have to know that, okay, let's say we get rid of all these players and have a completely different 11. It can happen just as easily to them. And that's why you have to focus on having a deep squad and having players that, you know what, can go the long run of the season.
And they do have a deep squad. And this is what we talked about it. And we're like, how are these guys going to get minutes? Ryan Hollingshead came in. Mahala, active. I thought the subs did well, but you don't want to deal with injuries, but LAFC have put themselves in a position where they can.
And it wasn't bad. Was it the best? No, but it wasn't like last season when, hey, we had these injuries and we didn't have the cover. To keep up.
And to go back to what you were saying, Mahala and Latif both had major impacts on the game. And I like what I see in Mahala in that role off the bench, right? If you can get 20, 30 minutes from him in that super sub kind of role off the bench, I think it'd be great.
Well, we're going to move on, but I'll just leave this here. Carlos Vela's contract ends at the end of June. He's now injured again. A lot to think about.
Yeah, but
we don't know the depth of the injury.
You know what else we have to think about? Another DP slot open. Okay, so Carlos Vela gets injured. Maybe we re-sign him and then get another DP, and then we're good.
I don't think anything that's happened here changes what the trajectory is for this contract extension here for Carlos Vela. So it's a wait and see, and we can't speculate about it, but it's certainly food for thought. It's something that I'm sure the powers that be at LAFC are certainly thinking about.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carlos Vela's contract is above all of our pay grades, so let's not worry about that anymore.
Yeah. Good one.
Let's worry about this. LAFC had 25 shots, only 6 on target. Steve Cherundolo, after the match, he said his biggest talking point to his team was one thing. Guys, we did not create enough clear-cut chances. So from injuries to clear-cut chances, what was the biggest worry?
You know, I'm going to say that we played into Portland's hands. Portland played the type of match that they wanted to. So
we knew that.
They're gonna block a lot of balls out in front. They're gonna cut off some plays. I think that it wasn't a matter of having chances that we didn't finish. It's not like last year where that was ad nauseum, that was all we talked about. I just think that's Portland's style of play. They goaded us into playing the way that they did. So the fact that we were able to finish that chance in the last stoppage time there, all the more reason where I'm not worried about 25 shots but only 6 on target.
Well, I'm gonna pull out dark frames here because it was something that Max and I kind of talked about. The biggest concern for us was it seemed like there was a lack of ideas. And when you think Brian Rodriguez, Chicho Arango, Carlos Vela, and then obviously Mahala comes in, there should be no lack of ideas with that 3. So is that concerning?
No, but again, it's the second game of the season. I think we were all on a high from Carlos Vela's hat trick against Colorado. This team still needs to gel together a little bit. It's been a short preseason, a lot of new elements to the team, and look, they're still getting familiar with each other, and this screamed a second match of the season. Like I said, I think our expectations got set way too high after the first game of the season, and look, Portland played their game. They played with like 9 defenders in the back all game. It's going to be hard to break that down, and look, am I frustrated? Yes, but am I disappointed? Not really.
So early struggles for Steve, or something we should worry about?
I don't know. Portland's is not always hasn't been a great matchup for LAFC this last 2 seasons, but it's always competitive. And LAFC they got a point out of these last 4 games, but it certainly could have had a lot more. I spoke to Gio Savarese right before the game.
Why?
He's a great guy.
They had a warm embrace.
I had a warm embrace. It was like, I've known him for a long time. But he goes, I love playing here. This team gets up for it. So they really kind of connected into what this is all about. But you've got to find a way to break this down if you're LAFC, because this is a team you're going to see again. You had success with them back in 2018, 2019, to a lesser degree the 2 pandemic years as well, or certainly in 2020. Now you got to find a way to break this down, because they're going to keep playing this way when you see them. And other teams are going to look at that and say, okay, this is maybe a way to slow down this black and gold.
Well, that desperation leads us to kind of our bigger point. And I'm going to give a shout out to Philly, who's in the chat, who reminded me that we have not beaten Portland since 2020, right? After we pretty much dominated them. This kind of happened with Seattle as well, where we dominated them up front, and now they've turned the tides in the most important games. So ultimately, when we're talking about a clash of styles, is Portland our boogeyman?
I don't think we have a boogeyman. I don't know.
Boogeyman does not exist.
It could have been.
What about Santa?
They're definitely not our Santa. They're not giving us any gifts. No, but I think more than anything, Portland's that measuring stick that you want to see how you play against a team like Portland. It'd be different. Look, it's not Austin FC beating up on Miami and Cincinnati, right? This is LAFC playing a quality opponent, whether it's beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season. You know what you're going to get with those Giovanni Savarese coach teams, and I think Portland is a great measuring stick. It's just been frustrating over the last 2 years that we have not been able to measure up against Portland. First not winning since 2020.
And look, the regular season is the regular season. My only concern coming out of this would be...
This looked like MLS playoff football.
Right? So going into the long run, if LAFC makes it in the long run to the playoffs, will we be able to break down Portland when it matters? In the playoffs, in the MLS Cup, away from home? I'm just saying, these are all scenarios in my mind that, would I be comfortable right now? No, but maybe at the end of the season we'll be better.
It's fine margins with Portland. I mean, this stretch of 4 games where LAFC hasn't beat them. I mean, it's razor thin. So the chances were there, and I know that's a theme from last season. You touched on, J.R., but you want to get opportunities for these chances. You have to think, and I know I said this last year, that those chances will come through. I think LAFC know what to expect. They're not getting... Portland got a very fortunate goal as well. They scored some special bangers here up against LAFC the last 2 seasons when I think of the Mora goal from last season. They're there. You just got to find a way to finally break that defense.
All right, let's keep this topic going, but let's bring in an expert. Let's dive in even deeper to yesterday's match. To do that, we have a very special guest joining us for the first time this season. Let's welcome in the man who called this match for FS1, Keith Costigan. Keith, welcome in to the show.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Great studio.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Excited. Well, I was listening to the conversation before, so excited to hopefully add to it a little bit.
Were you rolling your eyes listening to our conversation?
I did. I rolled my eyes at a couple of your comments, I have to admit. I would say this, guys. I mean, you guys were talking about, is it the bogey team for LAFC? I think Portland are a bogey team for any team that wants to dominate the ball and go forward and leaves themselves open to transition. I think without the red card, Portland win the game. I think they go and get a second goal. They looked really dangerous. The red card meant they didn't offer anything again on the counter. I think all in all, a good point for LAFC, a good learning curve. But if you're comparing to last year, I thought LAFC, the issues were in transition moments when they played. And I still saw those transition moments. I have to say, though, it's only 2 games in. It's going to take a while for Steve Cherundolo to work on that, but I still saw those same issues against the Portland side, who are tactically maybe not the most pleasing on the eye because they sit back, but very effective in what they do.
Let's stay on defensive transition, because Steve, after the match, he mentioned that his biggest takeaway was actually the offensive side and the kind of lack of ideas, but he did come back to it and say, I don't think our offensive marking was great. Let's throw out the red card because that changes the whole complexion of the game. But what was the problem you were seeing from LAFC's ability to defend in transition?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think it's easy to say, create a tempo, be quicker in possession. But when a team sits so deep, I think Tuiloma and McGraw, the two centre-backs, were so deep. The full-backs were so connected. It was really difficult. And I thought early on, I think LAFC were very cognitive of the fact that they didn't want to be caught in transition. So Rodriguez going inside, Vela going inside, it was going into numbers. Then you need the full-backs to offer the width. But they were kind of saying, well, if we go, we're getting caught in transition by Asprilla, by Jimmy Chara. So there was that balance. And I thought, look, they're very early under a new coach, in a new reign, a new system or a new setup. So you're going to have those growing pains. But I think that was the issue, that you almost still have to gamble. You have to send your fullback forward, and you have to have a better shape to win the ball back quickly if it doesn't work out. And those were the areas that would be of concern for me. I thought as well, Vela, he played the first 15 minutes on that right-hand side. We see Salah in the Premier League when he stays out wide. Even if he's not getting the ball, he stays out wide. But 15 minutes in, Vela decided, I'm going to go central. That kind of forced Cifuentes to go out wide and cover defensively. So now all of a sudden your midfield is not as together as it possibly should be, and there's gaps appearing. So I think I like the idea of a front three that has the freedom to go where they want, but you still have to have a defensive reference point. And I would say at times in the first half, I didn't really see that from LAFC.
So, Keith, do you think that it was more of Portland being able to counteract LAFC to get a result, or do you think it was LAFC not being able to create enough chances themselves?
Yeah, I think, look, I work with the Sounders too, and the Sounders have had the same issues with Portland. So I think Portland are really good at what they do. Vela in open space. I think the Colorado game was the perfect opening game. Colorado will try play. Portland won't. They'll sit back, and I think their game plan was really, really good.
Okay.
And it's easy for me to sit up here and say, well, here's what you need to do in this situation. It is really difficult to play against teams who are good in transition moments and sit deep and deny that space. And look, Rodriguez, Vela, Chicho are going to get goals this season. They're going to have those opportunities. The key for me is getting that opening goal against the Portland, making them come out and, be a little bit more proactive. Then the game becomes the game that you want to see. If I had to say, I would say it was Portland getting their game plan right again. And it's been, 4 times in a row now where they've got their game plan right against LAFC, and it's up to LAFC to react. And so far they haven't. I know it's a late leveler, but again, I go back to the red card. I really think that was the game changer.
Keith, let me ask you, physicality-wise, the fact that LAFC brought in so many veterans, Kellen Acosta, Ilya Sanchez, Ryan Hollingshead, and now with Chicho Arango playing up top instead of a 21-year-old Diego Rossi, do you think that we responded better to Portland's physical play than we have maybe in seasons past?
No, I think you've got good balance. I think the likes of Ryan Hollingshead and Kellen Acosta are really, really good MLS pickups. I think when LAFC, the model initially was, we're going to bring in young DPs and we're going to sell them on, and you're going to keep that cycle going. That can be really good on a business standpoint, but can be difficult to compete in MLS over the long haul because you're losing players so many times. I think this is a team built more to challenge in MLS to go on in the playoffs as well. I still think, physically, I'm not that worried about LAFC. It was just the recognition of the transition moments. Ilya, I think, is a good player, but I don't think he's an upgrade on who he replaced. And I think you saw the same issues with Jimmy Chara and Dairon Asprilla, who maybe lacks the pace to exploit the spaces that he was in. But we saw them get into positions where they were going to attack and really create problems defensively for LAFC. So I think the jury's still out overall. And are we seeing a stronger LAFC defensively? But I do think the pickups that you've made certainly add to the ability to compete in MLS over the long haul.
I know you mentioned the red card was key, and I thought that was a strategy the LAFC did well. They went at these defenders and got yellow cards. There was 3 in the first half. Then obviously one led to a red. I think Van Rankin was kind of close as well at one point. Yeah. Very, very lucky. So that's a strategy that works. What do you think is something that next, let's just say they play a team like this again, and they will, and they'll play Portland again. What should work? Where is the space? Where is the best avenue to get in there and make a difference?
It's so tough. Portland are really good. This is why Portland are good in the playoffs as well. They always seem to hit form at the right time because they make it so difficult. But I would say just being, first of all, disciplined. you know, if Vela's going to be wide, stay wide, continue to take on the fullbacks. You're right, Max. I thought, you know, Van Rankin was really lucky to stay on the field. I actually think he was more, his challenge was more worthy of a second yellow than the one we saw from Bravo. But I think if you continue to give that width, have discipline, not get frustrated with the fact that Portland Timbers are going to sit back and deny you that space, keep possession. You don't have to force things. You don't have to force things with your shape and then offer transition moments. I think overall, you look at the quality up front, and that front three can compete with anybody in MLS in terms of the goal output, the creativity in 1v1 situations. But you can't decide after 10 minutes, oh, there's no space out wide on the right, I'm going to come inside and narrow the play again. I thought that kind of affected the rhythm for LAFC. So patience and again, trusting that, you know, your 1v1 ability in those wide areas, you keep doing it, and you get it right once, and you get that early goal or the first goal, I think you're going to be in good shape. But again, I stress, Portland, difficult when they play like this, and they seem to enjoy it. They revel in the fact that LAFC have the big name players, and they're saying, we're going to stop them. Their players buy into that, and Gio's done a really good job with that.
Really great stuff, Keith. We appreciate you coming. Quick turnaround after calling the game on the national broadcast. Come on here. We'll save you from the chat.
They love you in the chat, Keith.
The chat is going into the age-old, is it dominance if you're parking the bus versus who has the ball? We'll save you from that. That's an existential question.
There he is.
Don't think we have enough time to answer here. But, guys, thanks to Keith.
Thank you, Keith. You look great up on the LED
I crack on Keith
screen
all the time, but he's great at what he does, and he can do a lot of great jobs. We're very lucky to have him in this industry, in this sport. That's
Thank
it.
you,
That's
guys.
the only.
Max, I'm blushing. I'm blushing right now.
He's one of the good dudes.
He's one of the best. Honestly, thank you so much, Keith. Thanks for joining us, and you'll always be our first LAFC 360 guest.
Congratulations.
So,
Yeah.
Put it on your resume.
That's quite an honor.
yeah, please do put that on the resume.
You never forget your first, right, Vince?
That's true. All right, guys.
Ooh,
Catch
that
Keith
just went away like that.
Just went away like that. That's how quick our team is. All right, guys. Catch Keith all season long calling MLS and Liga MX games for Fox Sports. And if you're a Seattle fan here to hate watch, which I'm looking at the chat, I don't think they're in there unless they're very quiet.
But they're welcome.
You already know how awesome Keith is. He handles play-by-play for every Sounders games, and you're lucky to have him. But should we move on, or any last words on that?
The chat's blowing up right now.
Okay, maybe we should answer that age-old question.
Yeah,
a lot of people are saying that Keith is wrong because LAFC dominated that game. Now, they did dominate the ball. Did they dominate the game? Now, this is a football question we're not going to find the right answer to.
Right, but I'm with you, though. I don't think we dominated the game because I've said it over again. You said it last night on the postgame. We played into Portland's hands. Even though they went down a man, they didn't change their tactic. They didn't change their shape. In fact, they probably got more condensed in the back, like a lot of the people in the chat are saying right now. They had 9 defenders back the entire time. Every now and then, you would have Asprilla kind of leak out and try something on the front end, but I mean, they are who we thought they were, right? To the old Dennis Green quote.
That is your favorite quote.
I love that
So
quote.
if that is Portland's game plan going into the game and they execute it, although we did score that last-minute winner, if they execute their game plan, would that be dominance for them?
Well,
from their point of view?
This is the age-old question. What I would say for fans that are watching that are trying to figure that out is, which team looked more comfortable? It was very readily apparent
Portland.
which team looked more comfortable.
Yes.
Portland was much more comfortable.
Portland.
Well, that's what this low block, and I know the comments are, how do you break that down? When you do see a team that does it very well.
If we could solve that question, we would not be here.
But I will say, I think it all stems from that first goal, right? Portland score a goal that was, look, very, very good. But are you going to tell me that Yimi Char was just kicking that and it happened to go in the back of the net, right?
I mean, look, the game changed, right, when Portland knew they could then hunker down even more. You're absolutely right. But again, I think the way that LAFC countered it and what really worked for us is we went at them. We picked up yellow after yellow after yellow that eventually led to the red, and that's the razor's edge that Portland lives on with the way that they play, right? They're always one yellow card away from needing to maybe sub a man off or needing to change their tactics or shape just a little bit to account for that yellow card. And I think we caught them in that. It took us however many minutes to get that equalizer, but I think we played Portland the way we wanted to, with the exception of, and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, I didn't think our set pieces were as good with service as I know some of you on here do.
Well, they were, in their comments here, we see set pieces, we're seeing crosses, outside shooting as well. You know, there was the Sifu opportunity. There was also the opportunity from Chicho that went over. There was also an opportunity from Ilie.
Yep.
So that's something they give you. you got to be a little more clinical in that front. Portland gave you a lot of crossing, and the numbers were astronomical, so
Over
they
40.
didn't get through. So you got to find a way to be more effective in those spaces. Now, the set pieces, they didn't get anything. I spoke to Coach Cherundolo afterwards. He liked the growth from week 1. I thought there was some close calls. There was a great header from Fall in the first half.
Mostly in the first half.
Carlos didn't take it, and Kellen started taking both of them in the second half by and large, and they didn't have the sting in there. But Carlos Vela is an elite corner kick taker. Set pieces are better than the past couple years, but you do have to put one of those away, and it changes everything. So I think the comments are great. You have 3 categories there where LAFC, okay, we'll get something here. Let's be a little more clinical.
Look, this is a talk we could have until the end of time. So we'll get more to that later.
You know what? Class of 22 is one of my favorite things on the face of this planet. My love for it is very strong. Some may say stronger than Jack in the Box, and if you know me, that is a very hot take.
You like your Jack in the Box?
They're your
I
McDonald's
love my
guy.
Jack in
What
the
about
Box.
the Jack in the Box tacos? Those are
The tiny tacos?
yeah,
Oh,
crunchy.
great. This week's episode focuses on digits, not 3, nor 16, nor 458. We're talking fingers and toes. Check out this week's Class of 22.
So, because like, I could just hide my toes. I can hide my fingers.
Extra finger.
Finger. That was a dumb question.
Probably extra toe.
Extra finger, yeah. I can use my finger to do anything, so I think I want extra.
Like, I could just hide my toes. I can hide my fingers.
Extra finger. An extra finger. Because I'm pretty happy with my feet so far. My toes are in a good place, so one more finger to maybe scratch here and there, or to prepare some things that could help.
Go figure the
That
professional
was a good
soccer
answer by
players are happy
Ilya.
with their feet.
I was thinking of an extra finger to flip a page on the books that I read.
I'd say I'm happy with my feet.
No, if you could have like a thumb, an opposable thumb, like a monkey on your foot, you'd take it.
Yeah, you could climb really well.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Pick things up.
I'm not a foot guy, so I'll take an extra finger
No?
if I not even a little bit.
I'm thinking Princess
Rex Ryan?
Bride.
no,
Vince,
no
are you
Rex
a
Ryan.
That's a take that Max will get. He won't.
Yeah. Remember Christopher Guest in Princess Bride? He had the extra finger.
Yep.
Yep.
I know someone who's been looking for you. You know, that was good. That was.
Princess Bride, great movie. 6-fingered glove.
I think it's a good movie. Not great.
It's hyped.
I
quite a
watched
bit.
it again
Get
recently.
him,
Like,
chat.
It's
it's still good, and I love Andre the Giant, obviously.
great movie, but not all-time great.
Yeah.
You know who?
Fred Savage.
Yeah, there
Fred
you go. That's
Savage.
what I was just going to say.
You're always-
Former
Like my
co-star
dad.
of yours, Fred Savage. Of course he does. He started on a show with. Sorry, I'm listening to Jason talk in my ear.
Who's Jason?
I don't know. It's all up here.
All right, it's time for a segment we call I See You. This is our chance to sing the praises of something or someone we noticed at LAFC's match. I said singing, so naturally we should go with Carlos Max.
Carlos Cadillak.
you gotta-
Cadillak.
Are you
Sergeant-
implying something?
He's Argentinian.
No, go ahead. If you want to sing your
implying that I was Carlos Cadillak.
I've
I get
never
that a
seen-
couple times.
You guys
I've never
looked
seen them in the same
familiar.
room at the
I've
same
never seen
time.
Max and Carlos in the same room at the same time. However, I've heard that they party on yachts together in international
wish.
waters.
I wish. Okay, so I see you. Wait, okay, I saw this. We have some video with this as well.
We do.
Let's see the video. Maxime Crépeau endearing himself to the fans. He came out for his warm-ups, went to the north end, got a huge ovation. This was not the huge ovation. That was the second time around, but you can hear it. Then he goes to the west side of the stadium, then the east side, then the west side. Doing little things, knowing a former supporter himself in his Montreal days, how that's important and the connection you make with them. And the fans are getting into it. So there is something developing here that's very important. And Maxime Crépeau is a smart guy. He knows, especially when he's on the north end in that goal, that he has those guys behind his back. So very nice touch by Maxime Crépeau. I know a lot of goalkeepers do that. Not enough, and not the way that Maxime was able to do it last night.
Scarfoot, you're up.
Yeah, look, my ICU has to go out to Charisse and the good people over at LAFC HQ. Look, it hasn't always been easy to find women's jerseys and other women's clothing for people of all sizes there, and I have to be perfectly honest, it was an incredible thing to see Charisse and everybody at LAFC HQ really reach out and help some people that needed it, this especially with the new kit coming out. There's something about being able to wear the team's colors, the new badge and everything on day one, and the people at LAFC HQ made that happen, especially Charisse out there, so I want to give all the props in the world for people
For
at
the
LAFC
people
HQ.
watching, Charisse is...
She's the manager, the GM. I want to make sure I get her title right. She's the
locking it
GM
down.
of LAFC HQ and one of the nicest people that you will meet at Bank California Stadium. So again,
Maybe the coolest
thank you,
employee of LAFC,
She's
too.
pretty awesome. And you know, she's East Coast, so we talk a lot of love about all of our different East Coast teams we like too. So.
All right, I think I'm up. As you guys, this is a twofold one. As you guys will notice, we've got another pretty awesome t-shirt on.
Look at
That's
that.
thanks to Christopher Ortiz. If you like this shirt, and I know you do, check out his Instagram page. He does it with his wife. They do great art, great t-shirts. It's Gil San Art on Instagram. Please check them out. But this is twofold. What I want to say is this. This is now the second shirt that I've received from somebody in the LAFC community, and what you guys are doing, you're knocking it out of the park. LAFC, with the help of the community, kind of put this template together, the black and gold, the colors, the vibe. But from there, you guys have just run with it. And I love seeing all the independent art that's coming out, the t-shirts, the prints, the art, the music now coming out of there. Obviously, Be Real, Kidding, those guys. It's great. It just warms my heart because back in my day, you were cool and you didn't have to say it. But I feel like in this modern era,
You do like an old man voice?
Back in my day. But I feel like we have to remind people how cool this sport is. It's always been about fashion, music,
coolest sport.
culture. It's always been the coolest sport. And I think now a lot of people in North America, the United States especially, are learning that. And you guys are a big part of that. So thank you. And thanks again, Christopher and Gil San Art. Check it out, Instagram, please. They have t-shirts for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Connor, you're up.
Great shout out. My ICU is a couple people that showed up to the game last night. Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Weston McKinney.
Wow.
Chavo and Darren from System of a Down.
Wow.
And Be
Can I do
Real
the
was
whole
there.
You can.
There was a lot of people there. Like, check it out. Look, Owen Wilson, sombrero on at the game.
Not everybody gets to wear that sombrero.
Have you seen Wedding Crashers?
No, I've only seen none of the museums.
All of them or just the
No,
first one?
all of them.
Oh, you go the full spectrum of
Yeah,
that.
that's actually the only trilogy I've ever watched.
Got it.
Kids were going bonkers. I was down at the field when Weston was there, and they were like starry-eyed.
but
He's a solid. Do you see him in person? Because he's a big midfielder, strong.
One of the faces
A lot of
American
people clown LAFC. You know, they bring celebrities. People just come to do photo ops, but you don't see this many big name personalities going to any other team in Major League Soccer, and that says something. That says something not just about how good LAFC is, but how good their brand is. They're a good brand. You were talking about the culture behind it, the fashion, the music, everything. People like that, and people want to be connected with it, whether it is celebrities or just normal people.
And I'll say for Weston, I got my Bianconero on.
Yeah, that's a stretch. We saw
Please come
people.
back.
It was
Come
tough.
back better. Juventus needs you. We got to push for that Champions League spot and maybe even Serie A title.
This is LAFC 360, right?
Hey, but Weston was there. Come on.
He was there.
Give me this. Give me this one.
You can have that one. There you go.
Give me this
And
one.
we know it was tough to see him on crutches. It certainly was. He's out for the rest of the season. We'll see him hopefully getting ready for the U.S. for the World Cup in, let's say, June.
If they make it.
He's back for the next season, if they make it. Very true.
Hot
Very
take.
true. By the way, no talk about Will Ferrell and Team Security Paul's shirt. Look at him.
He got on the Jumbotron.
You think Paul's getting too much?
I love Paul to death, but it's getting a lot. It's getting a lot.
Wow.
Maybe that's the next T-shirt I need to wear.
Yeah,
that Team
I'll
Security
wear that.
Paul.
Yeah, it is getting a lot.
You guys don't understand.
I say this knowing that I'm going to training tomorrow, and that's the man that's going to let me in. So I should be careful there.
Right.
Oh, he's already. Hopefully,
You're already on his list, so it's fine.
By the way, if you guys don't already do this, we do this thing called Players to Watch every game. And it's your chance to win some pretty cool swag. A lot of it signed by the team. This week we had a team-signed hat. We had a three-way tie.
Ooh.
So we have to do some kind of tiebreaker. We'll have to come up with what that tiebreaker is. But we had a three-way tie, if you can imagine. We'll let you know. We'll let you guys know later today.
So no one won it.
Well, we can't just chop up the hat into three.
I mean, we can.
You technically can.
We can, but I think
Do we
that's
want to draw out of a hat? Remember when
And
we
shout
did
out
that
to my
last
boy Philly for winning last week with a keeper. Can we just, I'm just throwing that out.
No shout out.
You want to
No,
win
shout
with a
out to
keeper.
Philly again.
Philly, if you're watching, big shout out.
What's weird here is this is the part where I'm normally supposed to solicit people for questions. However, to break the fourth wall, our monitor has gone out.
It's gone.
Okay, I texted the producer. That's what I was on there. But yeah, I think the battery ran out.
The
so
battery
we
on
canceled it.
said computer ran out.
So we can't.
This is live.
Converse
I like
between
it.
each other?
I like it.
All right, if you were
somebody, there was a question in there from Gomez that I can answer that I do remember.
Okay.
He's asking about Bryce Duke, and Max Bretos and I have a little bit of inside info there because we talked to somebody at LAFC who still talks to him. He was carrying a little bit of an injury through preseason. He should be back soon, but was dealing with that and trying to get back up to fitness. So it's not a tactical problem. It's not them not wanting to play him. They actually have told him that he's going to be very important to the team this year. Slight injury. So Gomez, that's your answer about Bryce Duke.
And a nice logo.
So for those of you watching right now, feel free to ask any questions. I have the chat up on my phone. So
Good. I'm glad you're a connection to the fans.
I'm the only one who cares enough to pull up my phone.
Wow. All right. Well, give
Wait
us
a
some
minute.
questions.
I texted the producer on my phone.
Two people hashtag Berhalter out.
That's a weird one.
Not this wrong show.
I don't know where that came from.
I think we're back
It's
to the
because we're talking about Weston.
Oh, can we answer that, Max?
It's all right.
I looked at you.
No one's
'cause
out just late
You
in
are the
World
soccer
Cup.
OG, and you have a lot of hot takes on Berhalter.
He's not going anywhere right now, right? No way.
Just he's very busy selecting a roster. This is the cycle. He's going to go through it. He has these 3 games. If things go wrong, then that's a conversation. But it's about getting the team in the World Cup, which he will.
Well, I have a question for the chat. You get rid of a manager with 3 matches left in your qualifying cycle. 1, who can you bring in?
No.
And 2, is it going to work? Because didn't we do that the last time?
Yeah, it's
silly.
Look, we've got so much development and growth on that team anyway. I think it might be kind of fun with Weston McKennie going down. We get to see a little bit more from a few other players, answer a few questions a little earlier than we might have. So, look,
maybe call up Marky Delgado.
Oh boy.
Well, and I'm not saying that Berhalter's
A little further
the
down the
answer. I
pecking
don't
order,
think
but a good player.
with the way that they're playing, they're definitely not going to go far in the World Cup. But at this point, just making the World Cup is success for the United States. I'm sorry, but we have to put it that way.
Just to bring it all together, and we talked about breaking down the timbers, Greg Berhalter has to deal with that with some regularity when he's having to break down, certainly at home, some of these CONCACAF teams that know that's their best way to get a result. So he has to deal with that the same way Steve Cherundolo has to deal with that with LAFC.
Is 110 going to be in Miami?
110 will not be in Miami. We'll be having brunch from the studio, which you can all join us. We'll talk about that later with the schedule.
Yep.
Somebody has asked, what's going on with Kim Moon-Hwan and Pancho Janela? Where do we want to start?
Ooh, they are.
Kim.
Let's go with Kim. Sure. I think that we've seen how important depth is going to be, right? We've already got an injury to Franco Escobar. We're going to have some backline questions at some point during the season. A lot of money, though, to pay those 2 guys, by the way, for them not to even see the pitch at all or even the 18 very often.
Yeah, but look, you have to be roster compliant, so
sure,
it's not a problem. Hey, look,
but also there
spend up
is
to your cap.
Yep.
But also there is only 11 guys you can put on the field at one time.
There are, true.
Bretos, you're awful quiet.
Well, they got depth came into view in this game, and it's going to come in a game. That said, keeping everyone happy is going to be a challenge. Steve Cherundolo also said about Kim Moon-Hwan that he wasn't 100% coming through training camp, so he was getting there. He has been on the benches. Pancho Janela, I think it's a numbers game. We spoke to Ilie Sanchez, and he's very complimentary about the game that Pancho has. But Pancho, in all likelihood, would probably go for the Ilie Sanchez role. So I'd like to preach patience, but I know that's not always the way it is in this sport.
Soccer USA has asked, is it time to move on from Danny Musovski? Which is an interesting question. I don't think so. What I will
he's a really handy player to have in MLS.
I'll caveat it with this. There was recently a survey of GMs in MLS from The Athletic, and one of the players that they said is underutilized, and they can't believe it, is Danny Musovski, who's at $85,000 at his cap hit. He overperforms his salary.
100%.
Definitely, and he's a straightforward kind of goal scorer, right? Like he's not going to make your long looping runs. He's not going to, he's not going to do a lot of those things. But he knows what his job is. He knows what his role is. Get to the front of the net, put one in the back, and he's good at it. When he gets enough time, the Moose is fun to watch. It's just I don't know if he's behind Mahala now on the pecking order, so he's the 5th striker up on the front line. They're going to be the Athletic might have him again next year.
It may have been fun to see Moose come into a game earlier on against Portland.
Well,
maybe he was an element that we needed before Mahala.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go here. Let me ask you this. Mahala gets that start. Should maybe Moose? Does Moose fit a little bit better if you got Moose as a focal point, Carlos, and B-Rod off him? I mean, obviously Carlos took care of business against Colorado, but
yeah, Mahala's a guy that we don't really have a direct corollary to as what he can do in his skill set. I know we've talked about that in the past. It seemed like a good time for him to possibly extend the lines a bit to see if you could dislodge that back four and then the midfield for Portland. So it was effective, but in spots, I'd like to see a lot more from Mahala, but I thought it was a good sub.
Let's wrap up questions with this one from Nico because we could go a long time on this if we want. It's about formations. I love talking about formations.
Of course you do.
Do we need to change formation to counteract teams like Portland, Seattle? Seattle less so, but Portland, a team that is going to sit back. Is a formation change the way to do it? You know where I... Do you want me to say what I think?
Why don't you start? Because you're the big
formation. Do not change formations. Formations are just starting points. It's all about the roles that players play and knowing the way they play. You could play a 4-3-3, you could play a 3-5-2, and they might end up actually looking the same with the ball. That's my take. But you guys might disagree.
No disagreement from me.
No, completely agree. And look, 2 games into the Steve Cherundolo era, let's let them play their formation. Let's see what we... Portland is not the litmus test for whether or not you change formations. Portland's a litmus test for a lot of other things, but not that.
But again, this wasn't a disaster. Also, there doesn't
yeah,
need.
We're talking about a 1-1 draw. It shows you the state of where we were from 2021.
A 1-1 draw.
2022.
Where we scored an equalizer in the last minute of the game. Okay, we should be happy with the result. No, we shouldn't be happy with the result, but we should be content that this was a tough game.
It's not time to burn it all down.
We got a result. No. There's no reason to burn it all down. There's no reason to make big changes. I think that the team, like I said before, is gelling together. The team seems happy. The team seems like more of a family. And so we'll just have to wait and see.
And as you said, with regards to the formation, it is a starting point. LAFC can adjust on the fly and do some things, which they do, and they can play to their strengths with who they have on the bench. So this is a fluid situation. It's not a standard formation where it's done. It's an intricate, very avant-garde, I want to throw a little French there, move there from LAFC. That's what they do. They play attractive football, and they will turn on the fly if they have to.
I will add, there has been slight tweaks to the formation too. Maybe we'll get into that in a little bit later date. But there has been, if you watch the way Ilie and Kellen Acosta interpret their positions, you've noticed that it's very different than the way Bob.
Ilie dropped very deep for a stretch there, and he was given direct instructions from the sideline. He came up just in front of the back four on occasion. So there was some things at play to try and adjust to what the Timbers were doing. You like to see that. They're not just saying, let's do this. They adjusted.
It's about the starting, like I said, starting points.
Do this.
Can I throw one small point before we move on from this?
Yes, one small point before we move on.
Real quick, I think it's really important, too, also to defend points at home. And I think that's the thing we did last night, that 2020, 2021, it didn't feel like we defended Bank of California Stadium as much as we did by securing this point, by the way we played in our first match, and what we did in 18 and 19. So I felt like we were kind of getting back to those ways of really valuing every single point at home a little bit more than we had the last couple seasons.
And more so even in 2019. 2019 was, hey, let's just wreak havoc.
Right.
We're not defending, we're attacking other teams at the Bank. It's more kind of holistic. When you're like,
I would say,
should I use that word?
It's like you are defending points. Every point matters, and you don't give up until the final.
I'd say
whistle.
this: it was a sure heck of a lot more fun to steal a point at the end than to be, relegated to just taking a point.
And a lot of the time,
like 2021.
A lot of the time, we're on the receiving end of that too.
That's what I'm saying. It was
still
a whole
unbeaten
lot more
with
fun.
a couple favorable games coming up. So good. LAFC's in a good place.
No one's going to point out that he said defend the Bank.
Defending the Bank.
No.
Defenders of the Bank podcast.
Promotional.
JR.
I don't know what you're talking about.
JR and Philly, Defenders of the Bank podcast.
Philly was in the chat room as well. Philly was in the chat room. He was upset about the
Soccer OG podcast, and we have the LA Saga, and then all
Soccer
the
OG podcast. Check it out.
FC pods.
But yeah, the Max and Vince podcast.
MVP.
No,
it's pretty good.
Nah, not a good list.
I'm on it.
It's a
pretty
great.
good.
Oh wait, yes,
great
it's
list.
great.
we got a great response from the Ilie Sanchez interview. He was very upfront. People came up to us straight up and said, I really enjoyed that. I got to know the team better. So we're going to have more access like that with the players. So
they said they really enjoyed us, though, but we turned it back around and said it was all about Ilie.
It was all about
It was all about Ilie.
It was.
Very good.
He can answer a question any way he likes.
Yes.
Okay.
Stoppage time.
Yeah.
Shall we get into the fun part of the show?
What was all the rest of the stuff?
Just like them.
I'm having fun.
Look at that.
Stoppage
look at
time.
that.
New
Holding up,
graphic. New graphic.
I like that.
Yep.
We're going to do stoppage time. Stoppage time is basically our version of last-minute hot takes, right? Max, you want to start?
Yes, and I was going to talk about Brian Rodriguez, who, there's still a lot of work in progress with the turnovers, with breaking down defenders, maybe holding the ball on a little bit too long. But one thing you can't say about Brian Rodriguez in these 2 games here, and also at the back end of 2021, his effort is there, his conviction is there, his commitment is all there, and we saw it as he finally broke down the Timbers right back was at Van Rankin to get there and assist on the goal there for Mamadou Fall. So Brian Rodriguez, and he's much maligned, and when you bring his name up, people are like, oh, well, he hasn't lived up to billing. That's starting to change. I think people are noticing how honest his effort is, and I pull for him to score. I feel like it's going to come. I'm glad he got the assist. B-Rod is putting in the work, always going 90 minutes as well.
Good take?
Could have been longer? Was that the right?
No, perfect.
Okay.
My stoppage time is just going to be relax, guys. Just relax. Take a chill pill. This was a fair result against an MLS Cup finalist. Okay? It's good. We don't have to ring the alarm bells. We don't have to change anything. If we lose terribly to Miami and then don't get a couple wins for a while, maybe we can reassess. But this is okay. It's not bad. It's okay.
Have you seen Zoolander?
No.
No. Okay, but you thought about it there. Just relax.
He's like, what's the
Take
funny
a chill
answer
pill.
here?
I know. I didn't have anything.
By the way, I'm not a big Zoolander fan because our producer asked us that, because it is a bad portrayal of the male modeling business.
Says the
I was
former
part
male
of that. It's
Do we have
not
a
these
graphic?
guys going, "Eh." They're actually very smart, college-educated kids that are trying to do something different. So that is a fictional portrayal
No chance.
of male modeling.
You know, the one thing that they all have in common is pristine bone structure.
Yes.
High cheekbones.
High cheekbones.
Okay.
All right, so I'll segue smoothly into Ilie Sanchez. To me, looking back at first 2 seasons in MLS, 2017, 2018, every single start he made, and he started almost every match, was a 90-minute run for Ilie Sanchez. Played every minute when he was out there. It got a little dicey the last couple seasons. I think what we have seen these first 2 matches, and what we will continue to see for the remaining 32, is not just a player who is coming back into his own, but after 6 seasons, I think this will be Ilie Sanchez's best season. He's already been an all-star or a best 11 player once in his career. I think we're going to see that ascend to totally different heights this year, and we're going to be talking about him almost every single match as the quality midfielder that he is. Ilie Sanchez, best pickup of the offseason.
He's been great.
In a weird way, we say there's that whole Atuesta debate. Did we talk about Atuesta as much as we've been talking about Ilie Sanchez last
Keith Costigan did.
Yes, of course.
But he did a one-to-one comparison, which we keep saying is not fair. Atuesta
It's tough to say Edward had
It isn't, but we keep getting so pleasantly surprised with how good Ilie Sanchez is, where maybe we got just accustomed to how good Atuesta is.
That's what it is.
But we do keep talking about Sanchez.
It's true. All right, I'm up.
He's been superb.
I'm going to start mine by saying thank you to the crew. This framing is impeccable, but I'm about to do something that pisses them off. I'm going to lean forward because I like leaning forward. Okay, my stoppage time is this. Jesus David Murillo is an elite defender in this league, and deal with it. I know last season a lot of you hated on him.
I did.
He deserved some of the criticism.
He made some errors, but think about it this way. Was it him or the style that he was asked to play? We were always chasing goals. We couldn't finish. He was having to play basically 1v2 with so much space behind him. What I've been seeing this year, and especially against Portland, was that space in behind is safe with Jesus David Murillo. He tracked down a lot of runners, and he did not foul. This new kind of approach to defending, he's really latched onto. It's delay, get your teammates around it, crowd the ball out, and I saw a very reserved Jesus David Murillo, and I think that the real criticism you can give him is sometimes he can be too physical. I mean, the man's 6'2". He's a big dude. He did tell us once that he could only fight, two
8-year-olds or something?
2 8-year-olds? When we were like, you could at least take 30.
Now he can take 30.
You could take 30.
Did you guys ask a question? How many 8-year-olds?
Last season we did.
Oh,
How many
that's right. I
8-year-olds
remember
could you
that.
fight at one time?
And then Corey Baird said
how could you forget?
like 100.
Yes, he did. But back to Jesus David Murillo. He's an elite defender. He does things that not a lot of defenders in this league can do. Look, if you put him in that Portland setup and you tell him to just clear out crosses, head the ball out, he'd be elite there too. So the fact that he's doing this in a high leverage situation with slight changes that have made him look a little bit better, I think you got to give him his due. He deserves maybe at least a team of the week shout, maybe a bench.
I think you're spot on. And look, he put out some fires, and his speed is underrated. He got back there. I love a good slide tackle. He went to the ground on those occasions to rescue a situation here for LAFC. Because of how last season went up, he's gotten rid of the mistakes, knock on wood, and so far that's been pretty good.
Well, there's been a couple mistakes, but he's been able to make up for it.
He's kept it safe. I think he knows now. He's like, all right, no, that's out.
Because of what you mentioned, that new style of play, right, where he's not fouling first and then asking questions later. He's coming back. He's waiting for the team to reconnect with him back there on the back line, delaying, like you said. So.
He is no Harry Maguire.
Ooh.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
Woo, dodged that bullet.
Right, everyone, that is the show. Don't forget, you can watch the show. You can watch the show and Expansion Mansion as podcasts as well. You can listen to them. Listen to them. Got it. You can listen to them as podcasts. Just search 110 Football on any podcast platform that you listen on. Each episode is available on the 110 channel.
I'm leaning back in my seat, so everyone's. The crew is happy with me again.
Okay.
And speaking of the Expansion Mansion, the whole gang will return in just a few hours to talk everything MLS Match Day 2. So you guys are still on the hook.
Are we going to have wardrobe changes?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay.
That is in my contract.
I got a wardrobe change.
We will see you at 4 for the Expansion Mansion, but we've got something new for you this year for away matches. 110 Football watch parties. Join Vince and everyone else shortly before the match against Inter Miami right here on the 110 Football YouTube channel. We'll be live with you the entire match. Not just before, not just after, for the entire match.
If you are going to watch with me, mimosas. We're going to do mimosas. Maybe some Eggs Benedict.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah. We're
gonna be
taking all the stops because you're not going to be there.
You're going to need a nap.
I very much will.
So it's going to be fun, whether you're watching LAFC 360, Expansion Mansion, whether it's the pre and post games on LAFC or away games.
So maybe you should subscribe so you never miss a moment.
And click that bell. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you at 4 p.m.
See you in a couple hours.
Sounds good.
Hola, soy Diego Palacios. Sigue Aguanten Fútbol.